Welcome into our weekly visit with Ben Mintz, Barstool Sports. Ben's been doing this every single week all year as we record this on a Tuesday afternoon. It's November the 22nd, a couple days, like about 48 hours as we record this before the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss and Mississippi State wrapping up the regular season at Vaught-Hemingway. Obviously, that's not the storyline that everyone is focused on, but they will play a football game, and there will be a lot of other football games. And Ben has been kind enough all season long to go through the college slate, go through the NFL slate, help all of us with some little betting tip here and there. So, Ben, as always, man, thanks so much for doing this all year. This has been great.
Oh, yeah, I always enjoy it. Look, Neil, I love coming on here, and I love the audience you have with Ole Miss fans, and it's great to get to reach them through this. And, hey, man, anytime I come on and talk some football gambling, I'm always all for it. So thanks for having me.
I guess I'll ask you real quick. Do you have any kind of thoughts on Lane Kiffin? If in the event that this is the end, how will you reflect on his time at Ole Miss? And do you have any thoughts on what would happen moving forward? And is there any part of you that thinks maybe he ends up staying?
Well, look, I feel like, and this is something that's maybe people know this about me, like I'm probably a little bit too much of an eternal optimist just at heart in general. And I feel like it's a good way to look at life. Like I feel like I'm a glass half full guy, and I try to always like make the best of everything. And it's like honestly, it's like playing mental gymnastics a lot. Like how can you look for the good in really crappy situations, But this thing, like the only thing that I'd say positive, I don't know anything that anybody else doesn't know. I'm not going to sit here and say that. I just know the way the coaching carousel and rumors and the agents and everything, like I still believe no one like knows anything like firmly concrete, and maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Obviously I could tell the public sentiment disagrees with me heavily, and I don't know, like I said, I don't know anything that's like saying, oh, I know he's going to stay. I just feel like no one knows anything when it comes to stuff. I remember when Brian Kelly went to LSU last year, nobody had the first clue. It's just there's so much posturing going on with agents and ADs and coaches for money that I just don't know. And maybe that's me having rose-colored glasses, and maybe I'm just about to eat it. I'm not coming out here on your program and saying, oh, I know Lane's going to stay at Ole Miss. I don't know that. But until I see him announced at Auburn officially, I'm not saying, I'm not giving up either.
Okay, Ben. So here's the question as we start the college slate. We start on Thursday night, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. The Rebels, as of this moment, a 2.5-point favorite. They obviously have all the Lane Kiffin distractions, all that stuff going on. Mississippi State's lost this game 2 years in a row. There are some Mike Leach rumors flying around. I don't think they're true, but they continue to fly around about his health and might he retire at the end of this season. Weird game. How do you sort of see this one playing out?
Man, this is it's too hot to touch when you look at it. Like, I think Ole Miss matches up well with State, and it's supposed to rain. And the thing is, State doesn't have a very good running game, and Ole Miss can run the ball well. So, we saw last year when it was really windy and cold how much Will Rogers struggled with that. And so I think that helps Ole Miss. But when you look at the rivalry part of this thing, I mean, State needs this so bad. They've lost the last couple, and everything that's going on around Lane, it's like – I feel like if the Lane stuff wasn't going on, I think I'd like Ole Miss, but it's just like there's too many weird dynamics in a rivalry game to take Ole Miss here. So I'm going to sit back and cheer for the Rebels. Is what I think.
Okay. Yeah. I'll be honest here. At this point, I kind of like Mississippi State plus the 2.5, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I would never go against us though. Like I'm the type that'll never publicly go against us. And the thing is, State, I think we match up pretty well against them. Like I said, if they had like a real like the old school State teams that had the dominant D lines and the physical running games, we'd be in trouble. But that's not really how this team's designed.
Some Friday games of interest, some really good Friday games, actually. Baylor coming off of that heartbreaking loss to TCU. They had them beat and let it get away, and now they got to go to Austin to play a Texas team that looked really good against Kansas last week. Did Texas cover 9 points?
So you said Tech? Yeah, I think they can. I just think Baylor got their hearts ripped out last week in that TCU game, that rivalry game, and I just don't know what you're going to have left from Baylor on a short week here. Texas has been hard for me to read. I said on here last week I like Kansas, and Texas just crushed them. But I'm kind of thinking Texas is going to win this and finish strong here is what my instincts are telling me.
Huge game in the AAC. Your guys from New Orleans, Tulane, go to Cincinnati. I'm a huge Luke Fickell fan. You know that. And I'm a big Willie Frist fan, too. This is going to be a good game. Two really good coaches, good programs. Since he's a 2-point home favorite, this has a chance to be a fun game.
Yeah, it does. And the over-under is 46.5. I think it's going to be a physical defensive game, like a 2017, 23-20 game. I know that's not the highest over-under, but I would lean under. Just both these teams playing the winner just to host the American Athletic Conference Championship. This is rarefied air for Tulane. I mean, can you imagine them hosting the AAC title game in New Orleans? What a story that would be. Hard to go against Fickell and Cincinnati in this game, though, with like their big game background. You know, we saw them make the playoffs last year. They've been the standard bearer, best team, best program in this conference the last few years. So it's one of those spots where my heart's cheering for Tulane, but my head's not going to bet a cent on them. I might take this under.
Let's see. Big game in the MAC, kind of. Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan. Central Michigan, a 2-point favorite. NC State, North Carolina. NC State's a 6.5-point dog.
Just rivalry game. I might take the points, but NC State has so much trouble scoring. North Carolina got caught bad looking ahead last week. Horrible home loss to Georgia Tech. My old thing on this rivalry week, though, if I don't have an opinion on a game, when in doubt, I'm just taking the points. So I might take the 6.5 here.
All right, Arkansas, Missouri, not really a rivalry game. They've tried to make it one. It's not. They play each other at the end of the year. That's the extent of the rivalry. Arkansas, a 3-point favorite coming off the big win against Ole Miss in Fayetteville. Missouri's been weird all season. They're getting 3. The money line on this is, it tells you Vegas doesn't really care. It's a plus 125 for Mizzou. You got any thoughts on Hogs? And
this one's a hard one to read. I mean, Arkansas certainly, even if KJ had played, they'd have beaten LSU. They obviously played great and crushed Ole Miss last week. Seems like they're finishing strong. They're bowl eligible and they're kind of playing hard for Pittman. Missouri does have an underrated defense, but I'm probably going to just pass on this one. You know me, I just hate taking the road favorites. It's just not my style.
Iowa can get to the Big Ten title game by beating Nebraska. That's all they got to do. I think they'll do it. Will they beat them by more than 10.5?
I just can't lay 10.5 with Iowa when their offense is that bad. I think Iowa will win the game, but you got more money than I do if you can lay double digits with how bad that offense is.
UCLA loses a heartbreaker, man. A heartbreaker.
I had UCLA 10-1 Pac-12 too go down.
Oh, I mean, what a loss for them. And now they got to go to Berkeley and play a Cal team that's kind of whatever. It's 10-point line. Might be a spot here, right? I mean, if you have enough faith that Cal could do something.
I do. I just think that this is the spot and the time of year. Like DTR's hand got a little banged up last week. They lost to Arizona 2 weeks ago. Honestly, you're not supposed to have another game after that rivalry game against USC, unless it's a Pac-12 title game. That's the end of the season, big one. And now you got to go on the road. I know Cal stinks, but I just wonder if UCLA has anything left. Their defense sucks. DTR's banged up. I would lean Cal plus 10 here and might even look at the money line. I'm really worried that the music's over for UCLA.
Gators lose in Nashville. Woo. I mean, people try to sell this Billy Napier thing. And listen, I'm not saying that everybody's wrong, but now they got to go to Tallahassee. Mike Norvell's kind of got it going. Got in a position of a little bit of leverage at this point. His name might pop up in a couple of coaching searches. Norvell and the Knowles a 9.5-point favorite over the Gators Friday night.
This one I've just been back and forth on, and here's my 2 schools of logic. One of them is like Florida was looking ahead, and you got to think they'll fight harder against Florida State, and 9.5's a lot in the rivalry game. But then the other side of it is Florida State's licking their chops to beat the hell out of the Gators. And the thing Florida State's really got going is they hadn't had a good offensive line in like 8 or 10 years. Now they do with Jordan Travis. They got a good running game going. They got a lot of momentum. I mean, if they get a chance to run it up on Florida, they're going to step on their throat. But I still just don't want to lay 9.5 because it's just so much in a rivalry game. I mean, Richardson could come out and play a good game and keep them in it. So I'm giving you a long-winded answer where I just really don't know.
You like the over 58?
Ooh, I could see that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, the Saturday games, the big one, of course, Michigan, Ohio State, huge playoff implications. The Wolverines getting 7.5 at Ohio State. Michigan's a plus 245 money line if you're Wooly on the Wolverines.
I like Ohio State in this game a good bit. I think Vegas made a definitive statement putting that line out over 7. They're baiting people to take Michigan. Corum, the Michigan running back's banged up. I think he's going to try to go, but who knows how effective he'll be. And, last year, Michigan, 2 things. Michigan ran it down Ohio State's throat, and they still got a great offensive line. But Michigan also had Aiden Hutchinson and other just elite pass rushers that they don't have this year. And I think Ohio State's defense has improved under Jim Knowles some. I don't think that, I'm not saying they're going to stop the Michigan running game, but I don't think it'll be like what happened in the second half last year. And I've got Ohio State winning something like 38-24 by 2 touchdowns here.
Got Michigan State to Penn State, real disappointing season for Mel Tucker. A lot of James Franklin kind of rumblings out there about what he might want to do. Maybe he wants to get back to the South. I've heard that. He wants to get out west. I've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State
feels like it's run its course at Penn State, and that AD is gone. That hire, there's different AD now. It just feels like it's stale, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Michigan State's just not good enough to pull that off. I don't think the money line's 750, so it's like, come on.
I might take Michigan State in the points just because 18's a lot, but I don't know. I don't feel great. Michigan State, they did win at Illinois, and that was a good win, but they have been disappointing this year. It's been a big step back for them. I do think the Franklin thing, though, I think it's time for something different at Penn State. I know he's settled in. He's that 3rd or 4th best team in the Big Ten every year, but they just can't break through it.
South Carolina coming off that huge win over Tennessee. The fans stormed the field, got fined, the whole deal. They head to Clemson. Clemson's Clemson, man. 14.5-point favorite. They're playing to, they're going to go to the ACC title game. They're not winning the national championships. Weird spot. Big opportunity for Shane Beamer. Gets 14.5 points. The money line's 470, but the Gamecocks not a good team away from home very much.
My instincts are going off that Clemson's about to beat them by 4 touchdowns in this game. I just think, like South Carolina, everybody's going to talk themselves into South Carolina off how Rattler played last week, and he was spectacular against the Tennessee defense that fell off a cliff. And I know it was electric in Columbia, and I get all that, but Clemson's been owning this series for a while, and I think Clemson's going to I don't know. It just the line being over 14. I think public money is going to be on South Carolina. I like Clemson here, but kind of similar to Ohio State, Michigan. You can get Clemson at 14 or Ohio State at 7. I like it more. That's key at that point.
Got my guy Kane Womack in South Alabama can get to 10-2 with the win over Old Dominion in Mobile. Can they do it by more than 16? Old Dominion kind of falling off a little bit lately.
Yeah, they could. I don't think Old Dominion can score many points, and South Alabama has a good defense. It's just 16 is such a high number, but I don't think there's any danger in South Alabama not winning the game. I mean, I think they'll win by at least 10. I don't know if they'll cover, but I feel pretty good about it. Man, what a season your guy Kane's had, man.
He's had a great year. I'm super happy.
Yeah, 10-2 at South Alabama.
I know, wow. And he's got 21 of 22 starters coming back.
Dang.
Yeah, they're a team to watch next year.
Good for him, man. Love to see it.
Georgia laying 35 against Georgia Tech. God, what a big number, huh?
It just sucks that Georgia Tech's so bad. Like, they're just horrible. I mean, Georgia can kind of win as bad as they want, is the thing. I don't see how Georgia Tech can score. I mean, even though they just won at North Carolina, it's crazy it's 35 after they just beat a top 10 team on the road.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, 35. I can't. I mean, I'm never going to lay 35 in a rivalry game. Are you? I don't know if I would talk myself into Georgia. Can they score 10 points? I don't know how.
It depends on whether Georgia's completely checked in or whether Georgia's thinking ahead.
I mean, they hate Georgia. They always are checked in.
Kirby gets ready for this game.
Yeah, I mean, this game's in Atlanta. They get up for this one usually.
Rice has sucked for a while, and my guy Tyler's made money on betting against them. 14-point favorite, 14-point dog at North Texas. Can North Texas cover 14 against the Owls?
North Texas is playing to go to the CUSA title game here too, so no lack of motivation. I'm not touching it though. I don't have an opinion, but it sounds like you like North Texas a little bit. But yeah, I know Rice is bad. I don't think they're as bad as they've been the last few years though.
Big game at the Apple Cup, Washington and Washington State. The Huskies giving 2 on the road at Washington State. What a game that has a chance to
I know. That's what I was going to say about this was just Wazoo's been like quietly good. Their thing is, you think of Wazoo and, Cam Ward's a good quarterback, the Incarnate Word transfer, all that. Their defense has played well. They got a good D-line. I mean, I guess I would slightly lean the home underdog here, but Wazoo's gotten crushed in this Apple Cup through the years. It's been really bad. This has been one-sided on Washington's end a lot. So, I mean, I guess I'd take the home underdog if anybody, probably staying away.
Louisville and Kentucky play in Lexington. The Cats giving 2.5 at home against Louisville.
Talk about a disappointing season.
Woof.
The Kentucky thing has just been bad. Louisville's been so good at home, but they've been shaky on the road. If this game was at Louisville, I'd be all over Louisville by 3.5 or 4. But as it stands on the road, rivalry game, low over under, I mean, it just feels like a toss-up.
Speaking of guys that we're friends with, our guy John Summerall at Troy heads to Arkansas State. A win puts them at 10-2. 10-2 at Troy in year one for John Summerall, a future SEC coach. I'm just telling you. Don't know if the future's now. It's probably not. It's probably a couple years down the road. But
man,
what a job. They go to Arkansas State laying 13.5.
Man, it's just incredible to me. He's playing for 10 wins, and Butch Jones isn't working out at Arkansas State. He's apparently a champion of life, is not working there in Jonesboro. I think Troy will win. I never laid 13.5 on the road. I'll be honest, you know a lot more about this game than I do.
Let's see. Auburn and Alabama, the Iron Bowl. Auburn getting 22 in Cadillac Williams' coaching finale there against Nick Saban and the Tide.
Look, I don't know if Auburn can win by any stretch of the imagination, but Bama hadn't been blowing anybody out all year. And, I mean, the over-under is only 49. I mean, look, Bama will probably win by a couple of touchdowns, but I think Auburn's going to play their hearts out and fight. The only thing on the Auburn side is the passing game's so bad they're one-dimensional, and that worries me greatly. But I'm still taking the 22 here. It's just too much in a rivalry game. And I feel like these Alabama spreads have just been so inflated all year. And I still think that this is not, they're obviously a great team, but they're not what we're used to.
The Battle of Oregon. Oregon goes to Oregon State. Oregon giving 3 points on the road at Oregon State.
I like Oregon State a lot in this game. Oregon State's tough as nails at home. They're playing to get to 9-3. They're extremely physical. They run the ball. And I know Oregon had a huge win over Utah last week, but their offense wasn't the same when Bo Nix can't use his legs because of his injury. He's immobile. And if he can't run, they lose that part of the offense. It's not good for them. I think Oregon State gets this thing done, wins this game.
Minnesota and Wisconsin. The Gophers killed me last week against Iowa. I had Gophers, and they were driving down. They're going to kick a field goal and win it, and then interception. Iowa gets the field goal. Feels like a weird spot for the Gophers having to go to Wisconsin coming off that loss. Wisconsin played fairly well since the coaching change. They're laying 3.5.
These Big Ten games like this. I literally would be lying to you if I have no idea. I mean, these games are low scoring with these small spreads, and it's just who the hell knows.
Let's see. Kind of searching a little bit for some other college games of interest. LSU goes to Texas A&M. The Tigers lay in 10. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either, because the thing is, our natural instincts are to think when you see an LSU A&M game, you're like, well, A&M should have a lot of pride and come out and fight at home. Them and LSU's kind of a pseudo rivalry. They fight. None of these A&M players give a damn about any of that. Yeah, all these A&M five-star kids are figuring out where they're playing next year. There's no pride left in A&M. You see that effort against UMass? And while we're at it, have you ever seen anything more hilarious than A&M announcing there were 90,000 fans at that game when there might have been 12 last week? Yeah. They announced an attendance of 90,177 people.
You're not tricking anybody. Just don't say.
It's just funny. A&M's the best.
Say it out loud. Just don't announce an attendance. Just when people go, y'all announce an attendance, go, no, we didn't.
Yeah, but I just don't think A&M. LSU's got tons of momentum. That's a night game. They're going to come in fired up. I know LSU will win. I don't see A&M having the heart to fight. I really don't.
I don't either. I kind of like it. I'll tell you a game I love. Please talk me out of it because I love it a lot. And last week I loved the game that was dead wrong. Notre Dame plus 5.5 at SC. SC coming off that big win over UCLA. But, boy, that defense, shaky. And Notre Dame's getting a little better, playing a little better. Notre Dame can play some defense against SC. Notre Dame getting 5.5 on the road, and I don't hate it.
No, you're kind of I was back and forth on this one, and your convictions got me. I mean, I'll always say when in doubt, I lean the dog. But you mentioned, remember all the heat on Marcus Freeman at the beginning of the year? He's won 8-1 in his last 9.
I know, and look good doing it.
And they're physical too. USC, it's funny. I mean, you can tell it's Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma out west. I mean, they unbelievable offense. They even have the same quarterback, can't stop anybody. I mean, it's the same. It's like literally like the Pac-12 version of that Oklahoma run. It's the same thing. I'm kind of leaning Notre Dame in the points too. I mean, USC they locked up playing in the Pac-12 title game last week.
I don't hate the money line on this.
Yeah, no, you kind of, like I said, I was unsure on it, and your conviction kind of got me thinking more about it and leaning Notre Dame. I got to be honest.
Tennessee and Vandy. I'm gonna say something insane. I don't hate the money line here.
Oh, I don't either. I don't think it's insane. What's Tennessee? Tennessee, what do they have left? You want to talk about one game killing somebody's season? I mean, you're playing for a playoff. You allow 63 points, and your Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback tears his ACL. I mean, what is there to come back from? I know they can't stand losing to Vandy because they're in Tennessee and
they're human, man.
But I don't think Joe Milton, their backup quarterback, is not good. I do not trust him. We saw him play a lot against Ole Miss last year.
Yeah, hadn't played all year. I mean,
I don't think he's good. And the other thing, you're taking Tennessee. Did you see that defense last week? They can't stop anybody. Look, I'm taking Vandy in the 14. I might sprinkle the money line. I don't hate it. They've got a shot. And if Vandy beats Kentucky, Florida, and Tennessee 3 weeks in a row, you want to talk about a story. Wow.
Oh, my guy, Clark Lee, man. Oklahoma and Texas Tech, Sooners, dude. And they got to go to Lubbock. Texas Tech's pretty good at home, and they're getting 2. Not a terrible spot to go Red Raiders.
I like you just said it. Texas Tech all year has been good at home and horrible on the road. I don't trust Oklahoma laying points on the road here. They just had a big rivalry week when they have played better down the stretch since Gabriel came back from that injury. But I still think I'd lean Texas Tech here if anyone, but probably staying away.
Kansas State can get to the Big 12 title game with the win over Kansas. They got to lay 11.5, but it's at home in Manhattan, and you know they'd love to pop them and go into the Big 12 game with momentum.
This is one of those games where it almost feels like it looks too easy, but like Kansas their run defense is atrocious. They're giving up like 300 or 400 yards routinely on the ground. They're playing the wrong team to not be able to stop the run. I can tell you that. Deuce Vaughn and K-State's other running backs really exploded. They got a great running game. They're playing for the Big 12 title. They're playing a rivalry game. I mean, I like Kansas State.
All right, let's go to the NFL slate. 3 Thanksgiving Day games. We've got the first one, as always, Detroit at home. They're getting 10 at home against the Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving kind of morning, midday right there. What do you think?
Look, that's too many points. Detroit's won 3 in a row. Playing well. I'm going to take Detroit in the 10 here. It's just that y'all always hear me on pro football. When it gets to 10, I mean, I'm looking underdog all the time.
I'm with you. This one's almost at 10. Giants go to Dallas. Dallas looked like the best team in the world against Minnesota last week. You got the Giants coming in. Giants coming off a difficult loss to the Lions. Giants, though, getting 9.5.
I'm leaning the Giants. I just think there's too many points. I mean, I know Dallas is a way better team, but not like you're getting to a point. It's a division rivalry game. You're getting 9.5. Giants are a well-coached football team. I think they can run the ball good enough to stay in this game. So, I mean, it's just too many points, I think. So I'm taking. I mean, if the Giants get up 7-0, you're probably covering.
Yeah, I think so too. Patriots getting 3 coming off that win over the Jets. They go to Minnesota to play a Vikings team that has to feel. It's had to be an interesting short week. They had to feel like they really got embarrassed in Dallas. Minnesota giving 3 at home against New England in the primetime game.
It's one of those things, you know how I always say on the show, whenever you look horrible like they just did, it's like, how do you do it? But I think I'm taking Minnesota here. New England has so little offensive firepower this year. They're just very, very vanilla. The only problem here, Kirk Cousins in these primetime night games is like 1-11, and it's just something.
Yeah,
a lot of bad history, but I think Minnesota bounced back.
All right, got a big line here. Houston getting 13 at Miami. Miami has looked really good, but boy, that's a big number.
What's crazy, like this is another one. And I was wrong last week. I thought Baltimore would cover the big number. It's Carolina. They didn't. But, man, I can't take Houston here. I mean, you get 148 yards in a pro football game against Washington.
Yeah.
Miami at home. if Tua's out there, they're going to score points. And I don't see how Houston can keep up. I just don't see how. They have to win the turnover battle by 2 turnovers. But so I'm Miami or nothing. I mean, I just hate laying that many points. But I mean, Miami should win 41-13. I mean, in theory.
Ravens have a solid defense. Their offense kind of sputtered last week.
It is.
They go to Jacksonville. The Jags suck, but Ravens laying 4 on the road at Jacksonville kind of feels like a weird spot.
It feels weird, and so I'm Jacksonville or nothing. I'm probably nothing on it, but it just feels it's a short line. I thought it should be 6. Jacksonville's certainly not great, but I think I got nothing on this game. You're right. I'm concerned about the Baltimore offense though. Right now, it's the wide receiver play is really bad. And,
I don't think they're winning the AFC North, and we'll talk about the team.
Okay,
win it in a minute. Falcons go to Washington to play the Commanders. Commanders played okay. They lay 4 at home against a Falcons team that beat Chicago last week, playing okay. Falcons are okay. This is like the okay bowl.
It is the Commanders are hot though. I mean, they were 1-4. They won 5 out of 6 now, and boy, it just shows you how much better that team likes Heineke so much more than Wentz. It's very, very obvious. Atlanta's, I know they've been okay, pretty good, but it seems like they're a lot better at home than they are on the road. Yeah. You know, we saw that road effort at Carolina, and you saw the road effort at Cincinnati. So, I mean, it's got me thinking Washington or nothing, but Washington just plays so many close games, though, that it's kind of hard to, it's hard to lay a lot of points with them.
All right, here's a game that I kind of like a side on this. It's Bears and Jets. No one knows what Justin Fields' issue is. He might be out for the year. He might be day-to-day. As we tape this on Tuesday, we don't know. On the other side, as we tape this on Tuesday, we don't know what Robert Saleh is going to do with the Jets, the quarterback spot. Are they going to go with Zach Wilson, who pissed them off last week in postgame? Zach Wilson was awful. They asked him, what'd you think of your game? And he basically said, well, it wasn't my fault. And that went over the way you think it would go over in an NFL locker room. The Jets can really get after the quarterback, Ben. And if it's a backup in Chicago, this might be a game where the Jets can win this thing by attrition. I don't hate Jets minus 4.5.
Especially if they bench Wilson and play Flacco. Yeah. I like the Jets too. I was thinking the same thing. I already was liking the Jets in this game too. And even if Fields plays, he's hurt.
Yeah, going to be a great game. Bengals, Titans in Nashville. Bengals laying 1.5. Should be, like I said, a lot of fun to watch these two teams kind of go at one another. I don't know that this is a game that I feel like betting. It's a game that I definitely feel like watching. I don't hate the Bengals, though I don't like giving 1.5 on the road. Burrow just played so well last week in Pittsburgh that it gets your attention, because if he gets rolling, they're tough to beat.
Yeah, the other thing too is it's Jamar Chase supposedly. I don't know if he's coming back. It's either this week or next week. He's back soon. I know they feel good about that. And if he comes back, that's even more reason to like the Bengals. Tennessee's they're so good as a home underdog and underdog in these spots through the years that I hate to go against them in the spot. So because of that, it's also a rematch of that playoff game that Tannehill threw the 3 picks last year in Tennessee. I guess I'm Tennessee or nothing, but like you said, how confident can you be going against a hot Joe Burrow right now? That throwing for over 400 in Pittsburgh without Jamar Chase was showing me something last week.
And without Joe Mixon in the second half, they did it anyway. I thought it was impressive. I thought it was so impressive.
I
also, you know what else? Let me tell you what else you saw in that game is they're starting to protect him a lot better. He gets a little time, and he is such a natural born leader. He's so charismatic. Broncos and Panthers. If you're watching this, God, you love these teams, or you've got something in it. Denver's a 2.5-point favorite in Charlotte.
I think I like Carolina. Carolina beat Tampa, Atlanta, and New Orleans all at home. What's beat Denver? How could Denver be laying 2.5?
Yeah.
I know Carolina's bad, but they've been playing well at home. And the over-under is like the lowest one of the year in the NFL at 35.5. And to me, that's still 3 points too high. This thing's headed for 13-7. This thing's going to be so bad.
Yeah, I don't know. That's such a low number, but God, yeah, you're right. Tampa heads to Cleveland.
I like Cleveland plus 3.5 in this game. Look, call me crazy, but Tom Brady and Giselle are looking to lose $600 million in this FTX scheme. He's going through a divorce and losing hundreds of millions of dollars. I know he's Tom Brady, but damn, That's a lot to question his headspace. And this could be bad weather in Cleveland too, I would hope. And I think that would favor Cleveland too. So I'm leaning Cleveland plus 3.5 here.
All right. Raiders and Seahawks. This is one that I like. Seattle at home, laying 3.5. They've had a little bit of a break since the game in Germany. Ought to be fresh. Raiders are okay, but not as good away from home as they are at home. I kind of like Seattle here.
I like Seattle too. Seattle's tough at home. They always have been. That 12th man there, they've got a great home field advantage. And like you said, they're off a bye, and it's only 3.5. I think they're gonna win this game. So,
Chargers go to Arizona, laying 4.5. Chargers look pretty good. Lost, but they look good at Kansas City. They go to Arizona. Might be a little bit of a letdown coming off that big game. Arizona's just erratic as hell.
I think this Kingsbury era may be about to be over. It just feels like it's kind of, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's headed anywhere good.
Right,
you're talking about an Arizona team that was 9-0 last year, I believe.
Yeah.
At one point. Kyler, they think will be back, but it's too early in the week to tell. Man, you got to give the Chargers credit. They're over 500. You're talking about a team, they were playing without their starting right tackle, left tackle, guard, top 2 receivers, and tight end, and people are trying to bag on Herbert. Like, you name one quarterback in the NFL that could do well with that situation. The only thing I want to mention on this game is, man, if I were the Chargers, and I'm not saying Brandon Staley's a bad coach because he's not, but that's the team that needs to get Sean Payton. Boy, if you get Payton with Herbert, that's where he needs to land. That's all I'm going to say.
That's fascinating.
Another thing, the Chargers offensive coordinator right now is Joe Lombardi, was the Saints quarterbacks coach. They've got a lot of scheme already in play. I feel like Sean Payton with Herbert and that team, especially if it was them two against Reed and Mahomes, that would just be, man, that'd be something.
Saints go to San Francisco. It's a big line, 9.5 points. Niners look good. Saints don't. But 9.5 points, a big number.
Yeah, I just really worry with the Saints' offensive line injuries about San Francisco's defensive front is so stout with Bosa and those guys. And you got Andy Dalton out there behind a beat-up offensive line. I can't take New Orleans in the spot. I just can't do it. I know the Saints beat a Ram. The Saints are, you're talking about 4-7, but your last 2 wins, the Raiders no-showed Nola, and the Rams are like, we'll get to them in a second, but like they're barely even a football team at this point.
You like 9.5?
Don't be fooled if the Saints haven't figured out.
You think about laying 9.5 there?
I have the same thing in play with the Saints and Ole Miss. Just I don't care that much about the money. I can't go against my guys.
All right, Rams, the Super Bowl champion Rams getting 14.5 points at Kansas City. 14.5 points in an NFL game involving a team that won the Super Bowl less than 12 months ago. Holy.
Yeah. I just don't know if Stafford's going because he left in the third quarter and he had that concussion. I just feel like, I know the Rams don't have any draft picks, but like they're just packing it in. I mean, Kupp's out. They sacrificed everything they had to get Von Miller and Odell Beckham, and then they lost Whitworth. They literally just shoved every chip they had in the pot. And you know what? It was worth it. It was worth it. Super Bowl title. That's what it is. But they're catching all the backlash of it now, and they're 3-7, and they are done. 14, and if Stafford's out, I mean, they're going to get killed. But the only thing is, like, I mean, the Chiefs, I've seen this through the years with them. These kind of games, they win and don't cover a good bit.
It's too big of a number. I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah. Stafford plays. I almost might. I can't take the Rams though. God, they're bad.
All right, here's one that I like a little bit. Make me stop. I wanted to bet Colts and Eagles last week. I would have covered. I was going to get the Colts +7. So the Vegas odds come back and go, hey, Neil, you didn't do it last week. What about this week? Packers +7 at Philly.
I'm leaning Green Bay here. I kind of think Philly's going through like that stretch, and they got away with one in Indy last week. I was on Indy, and I thought Indy should have won that game. I feel like every team kind of goes through this in the NFL where the Eagles had their 8-game win streak, and now they're kind of, I'm not saying they're playing horrible, but they're not playing their best brand of football. And Aaron Rodgers on Sunday night, I think Green Bay can fight them. I don't know if Green Bay can win this game, but I'm leaning to taking a touchdown.
All right, then the Monday night game. We'll wrap it up here with the Steelers and the Colts. You mentioned the Colts should have had one. It got away. They get Pittsburgh at home. I don't hate this at all. Colts -2.5 at home against the Pittsburgh team that they're okay. They do some good things, but young quarterback. big night on Monday night. I don't hate Indianapolis here.
I like Indy here too. They're playing hard for Saturday. Matt Ryan may not be great, but he's a lot better than Sam Ehlinger. And they should have beaten. They had the road win at Vegas. Could have beaten Philly last week. You know that they're playing very, very hard, and just Kenny Pickett's still just so young going on the road. So I'm on Indy with you. I hadn't looked at the over/under, but this might be an under. I could see this game being pretty low
Under
score.
39. Yeah, I could see it. All right, Ben, how can people follow you this weekend? I know there's be a lot.
Well, we got a live Barstool stream Thursday night. I mean, I got to be the luckiest man on the planet. I get to spend every Thanksgiving night with Brandon Walker. I mean, who could ask for more in life? Certainly have enjoyed the last 2 Egg Bowls. Hoping this one goes well. Like we said earlier, just too many dynamics to really feel like super confident about this one. But yeah, Thanksgiving night live stream. We got Black Friday Barstool 20% off all our merch. It's a huge deal up here. If you're a Barstool fan, please support it. That's one of the biggest things of the year for us for that. And I'm kind of, to be honest, Neil, I know it's Thanksgiving week, but I hate to sound like this is another week for me, but I'm up here at the Egg Bowl. I'm not with family. I'll be back with my family for the holidays, for Christmas. We got the Black Friday deal, live streams. I mean, it's kind of like a work week up here, but I'm lucky to have it. So,
well, Benjamin, appreciate you doing this. One of the things I'm thankful for is our friendship and you doing
it absolutely
each and every week. So thanks so much for doing it. Hope you have a great weekend, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Preview the championships and another week in the NFL.
Sounds good, Neil. Thanks again for having me.